track.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, why you actually should judge a book by its cover. So today's conversation is going to revolve around the quote or saying that we all seem to love to say, which is, don't judge a book by its cover, which, in my opinion, is one of the softest and one of the dumbest quotes said, to be honest, in my opinion. Right, we're gonna talk about it here. I got my boy Angel. Before I get any further, obviously we have a different little camera angle going on right now, but just bear with us for the moment. This is one of those things that I often say in the podcast. It sounds a lot better in black and white than what it actually is. It sounds like a pretty thing to say. It sounds like something that is preachable, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, again, y'all can disagree with me. It just never really works out. It's not the way it actually is, right? It's something that we think that it's going to be good. In my opinion, right, obviously, y'all can let me know how y'all feel down in the comments below. Before I get any further, I also want to let y'all know, for those of you watching on YouTube, and it's more convenient, we are also live on Spotify, the Common Podcast on Spotify. Same thing, vice versa. If Spotify listeners, if you want more of a visual, we have a video side of the podcast on YouTube. So if y'all want to see how we're interacting throughout the podcast, you can also check us out on YouTube, which is the Common Podcast. So why don't judge a book by its cover? The analogy, in my opinion, itself is deceiving, right? You shouldn't judge a book by its cover when, in fact, so many authors spend so much time, money, and effort just to try to persuade the buyer based off the cover.
Yeah.
If covers never really mattered, why is there so much investment into just trying to get a consumer to buy the book?
Yeah, no, I have no idea. I mean, do you know where that phrase comes from?
Don't judge a book by its cover?
Yeah.
So
who started that phrase?
I don't know where who started it or the origin of it, but it seems that we all like a underdog story.
Yeah.
We all like to see that one person or someone come out of adversity and overcome some big thing. We all like it. We see it in movies, right? Rocky movies. We've seen it in a bunch of different things. We are very attracted to obsoletes. Like we're things are just not supposed to go that way, and you overcome. So that may be the origin, but I find that something that we all typically like, and we're attracted to, that underdog story. In fact, okay, so why were covers ever made? I'm gonna kind of like go on this little tangent on book covers, like take it quite literally on what book covers were made for.
Go ahead.
And it was made to properly identify the book. Right? So authors would make their cover to try to captivate readers by doing its best to capture what it is that they should expect from the interior. Right? So I read this quote. So I was doing some research, and this one guy said why you should actually judge a book by its cover, and he said your exterior is merely a representation of your interior. And if we take that quite literally to the book cover, that's exactly what it does, right? You're trying to capture what you're about to get yourself into, right? So what is the reader about to read? So this is one thing that I really resonates with me. We exert ourselves to the world. We exert ourselves to the world reflects who we are inside. This can go by the way that we dress, by the way that we talk, our culture, the way we communicate, our slangs, our accents. We're literally demonstrating who we are inside by the way that we present ourselves. That's why I have such a problem with this quote.
Yeah, no, I agree. With that, like, I can always tell like something about the person by the way they dress. You always have like some sort of idea, right? Maybe you're not right though, it's possible. But for example, like if I'm in an airport and I see a dude and he has a backpack with Velcro on it, I automatically know, oh, that dude's in the Army or the Air Force or something. It's just something like that was like a Velcro with a little flag on it. I'm like, okay, that guy, that guy's that. That's what I assume straight up.
Yeah.
And it's true because it does represent like how you dress, what you wear. It does represent like exactly what you like, who you are, something about you at least.
Yeah, and there's something about this like notion right now that people just don't like to be identified as something, right? Like, oh, don't call me that, or don't, you know what I mean? Don't put me in this label. And I feel like that's one of the bigger issues of why people are like, oh, don't judge me by my cover.
Yeah, but what do you think people are like that? What do you think? Maybe because they want to be unique.
Maybe
they want to find like what separates them, what makes them different. So you seeing that I have my hair a certain way, that I'm wearing this certain thing, it's like, oh, you automatically think I'm like that. Like,
yeah, I don't think that people just like to own one narrative. Like, I feel like they want to change and jump around as time goes, which we all do.
Yeah,
right. We all change, obviously. But I feel like people are like, they don't like to be tied down to an identity, because like, oh, well, like, I'm like this some days, but like, you know what? I just don't think I don't think that they like the fact that, it's like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like they think in their heads like, this is who I am, but this is not who I'm gonna be forever. And by you putting that label on me makes it seem like I have to be like that forever.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, it kind of goes with that theory how there's a theory out there, like psychologically, each person you interact with, you kind of show a different version of yourself to each person. So maybe like being called out for like a certain thing, like you always do, or who you are. I guess it could be triggering to some people.
I like it. I like that you said that, and that's actually going to be its own topic in itself. I had that planned, but. You know how like people say like, oh, that person's fake because they display a different side of themselves
when they're around you and when they're not around you.
I don't think they're fake, in my opinion, because it's like, would you talk to your grandmother the way you talk to me?
No, of course not.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a different level of respect. There's a time and a place for everything.
But question, let's say me and you graduated together. If you were to talk to someone else that you graduated with too, like kind of the same, we were in the football team. If you were to be like different with them, would you consider that fake?
No, because like for you, I know you a lot. Let's say it's somebody that I'm mutual with. Like I'm not even in a close
That's
friendship.
True. Yeah, that
with,
has
right?
lots. Yeah.
Like I can't trust this person with like a lot of my personal stuff. So why would I put myself out there like that? So there's obviously there's gonna be a certain level of like guard up. Yeah, like I'm gonna let you know what I want to let you know. I'm not gonna get too vulnerable with you. You're gonna see my respectful, presentable, professional side.
Yeah, that's interesting that you thought of a podcast of that. I mean, that's, to me, Book by Its Cover is something like that too. It's deep into the psychology of humans, but the reason you came up with the topic, like what's the reason you wanted to talk about this topic? Like, was there a certain instance you saw, or you saw something on the internet? Like,
I think I've been on Twitter a lot recently.
Yeah.
Oh
shit, a lot of fake shit going on there.
Yeah, well, Twitter's dangerous, bro.
Twitter's a different animal.
Totally I know.
Different animal.
I've been on it a lot, and I like, I don't know, I go on these rabbit holes and see like what, and the only reason why I do is because I'm curious as to like what the world of, 'cause I've never been into Twitter.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to like why people are so addicted to it and what they're talking about. And honestly, half the time that I'm on it, I'm cringing. Especially when the majority of like what the females have to say.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, man. Not gonna lie.
And so I've seen this a lot, like don't judge a book by its cover and whatnot. And I've talked about it in another podcast. Like my mind just starts to go like, and then I started to really think about it. Like, man, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, and I was one of those people too. Like I was just like, yeah, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Everybody should have equal opportunity.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But at the end of the day, like, I believe that if you live your life judging a book by its cover rather than not, you will have a better life overall by doing that than not. Because you are putting yourself at risk by not judging a book by its cover and giving everybody the opportunity to just, like, I guess, full trust or full. For instance, you're walking down the road, right, and it's dark, whatever. You see a homeless guy, right? But don't judge a book by its cover, right? Like, this guy can be nice,
yeah,
or whatnot. Let me go talk to him or let me interact with him. You're gonna get, like, if you're a female, a petite female, like, that can go wrong.
Super wrong, yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, picture your child or, like, your daughter dating a guy, and he shows up, he's raggedy, and he's just like, he reeks, he's not put well together. What are you gonna think?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be you're gonna be questioning your choices, like, hey, you should respect yourself more than to be with him, you know, like,
exactly,
some to that sort of vein. Yeah, no, that's a good example right there. I kind of agree too. Like, I've seen, for example, like on this topic where I'm working at now, my boss, he has a rule. He doesn't hire people with, like, different colored hair. Like, that's his rule. He's like, why? One time he did, and the person was gone in 2 hours. Legit. Like, there was, like, there for 2 hours, and they're like, oh, my mom's sick, and they just never came back. And so he was just like, you know what? I already had my reservations. Now it's like, okay, confirmed. Like, that's it.
Wow.
And that's like his personal rule. Like,
yeah, that's a crazy one. Now that one's controversial
because he feels like they don't have, there's, like, not structure to them, I guess, maybe, or there's no discipline, or, like, maybe something like that. I have no idea, but that's his rule.
Someone who's gonna be triggered by this, but dang, yeah, that's I don't know. That one's a sensitive one.
Yeah. I mean, just because she had like blue and purple hair, like some weird hairstyle, and they were like, you're like, nope.
I see it.
That's it.
Honestly, I see it. I understand where he's coming from.
I mean, you used to hire people. I mean,
okay, so I'll talk.
Yeah,
I'll talk
there you go.
this.
There you go. That's where I wanted to get to.
Just because I'm not in that position anymore, I will talk about it.
Yeah.
My rule, and I believe every manager has a rule. My rule is that I would never hire any, like, felons. I would never hire anybody with a bad background. And people,
tough, man.
People would give me crap about it because they're like, you know, look where you work. Like, you're supposed to give people like that the opportunity to bounce back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but if I had the opportunity to hire, like, this, for instance, high school student, you know, who's just starting off and helping them build their future, as opposed to hiring this person that I don't know what they're capable of. They already have a bad track record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, they're already showing bad traits by, you know, their history.
Yeah.
And it happened, like, the last few months of me working there, and I was just like, I wouldn't do it. My assistant would always tell me, like, why, that's kind of messed up and whatnot. She would always give me stuff about it, and I did it. I finally did it, and he didn't even last like a month.
See, and that's one of the examples. I think people should give people a chance, right? But I think everyone should measure their own.
Yeah, he was coming high.
Their own risk tolerance. Yeah, exactly. Like, that was your one rule, you know. It's unfortunate for them, like, I mean, there's a reason.
Yeah.
That stuff happened, you know.
For sure. Yeah. I fired him. But
I mean, yeah, it sucks because, I mean, if he had, like, it's a felony, right? So obviously he did some jail time.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, he did some jail time.
The thing is, like, if jail was actually, like, a place where people go and get like, legit help, like, hey, you know,
constructive,
something constructive comes out of it. It's not really. They just hold them there and give them food, like,
yeah,
and then they put them around other people that aren't really the best, probably, influences. You know, the American prison system, that's a whole other topic in itself. But most people that come out of it don't really come out better. So it's tough, man. It's tough, but especially when it comes to hiring, because it's money, man. It comes down to money, to your bottom line. And if you hire someone, you spend that resources to bring them on, and they don't pan out in 2 hours, like in the case I was telling you, like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I also had another guy that he was going through some issues too, and I was like, I had a bad feeling about it, but I really needed the help. So
Yeah.
I put my thoughts aside and I hired him, and he didn't even last one shift.
Dang. What, do you walk out or what?
Yeah, he's like, sir, I can't do this. He just walked out, crying too. He's having like a mental breakdown. Came back like 4 hours later asking for his job back. Nah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
And that's part of your cover, man. That's your cover, like you said, the book by its cover. Your cover is your confidence, your composure. It's not just your physical.
Yeah. I mean, in anything, like, here's why it's so important to know this too, is because if you understand why your cover is so important, you're going to carry yourself at a higher standard everywhere you go, or at least cater it to what you're about to do. For instance, you're going to go to an interview and you care about the cover and how you're going to present yourself. You're always going to show up very professional, well-dressed, groomed, everything. You're going to talk professionally, right? There's a time and a place. You may not talk the way you're talking at the interview to the way you do with your friends, right? But you understand that, okay, like, I understand that I'm going to be judged by the way I'm going to present myself.
Yeah.
Let me do it in the most, optimal way, right? As opposed to somebody who has this ideology of, don't judge a book by its cover. If the boss doesn't accept me for who I am, and then show up,
Yeah, and do exactly what he thought you were going to do, He gave you the chance. You decided not to take it, like, and that's his fault? No, not really.
No.
It's your fault.
And, okay, let's be clear. I want to be clear here, like, obviously, this isn't an absolute. This isn't always the case.
No,
right?
No, it's not.
There is rare instances where people prove you wrong, and they come up from bad upbringings and bad backgrounds, and drugs, gang, whatever it is, right? And they actually pull through. They actually pull out, and they make a better life of themselves, or they perform better than the person that was supposed to perform better than them. But choosing to ignore the anomaly of the few or the masses of, I'm pretty sure it's gonna go the way that we all think it's going to go. Choosing to ignore that just because everybody deserves like an equal opportunity, like, I think you're gonna find yourself in a little bit more trouble by doing that.
It's just maybe so right out of high school, I joined the Army, right? And it was super structured. And everyone has to look the same, and there's always a certain standard. So I guess I kind of got used to that.
Yeah.
I remember there was this one female soldier. She was a great soldier, good at her job, good at everything, right? But she would show up, and they're supposed to have, like, their hair slicked back in a bun, slick, right? She showed up, it was frizzy, right? And, none of the males corrected her, but a female corrected her real quick. It's like, hey, you represent us. Like, you represent the Army. Like, you're supposed to be presentable at all times.
Yeah.
And after that, never had an issue like that. And it's like, that's kind of like the standard that I kind of spent 4 years in. So now, like, that I'm out, and even when I see people with like weird haircuts, I'm like, man, what are you doing? Like, to me, it's like, okay, like when I see someone with a crazy haircut, it's just like, okay, I know he doesn't work in any, that's just me assuming,
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't think it's controversial. Everyone assumes something about everyone when you first see them every single time.
100%.
That's not controversial, man. I mean, you're not going to go outright and say it, right? Say like, oh, I think that guy sells drugs because he does like that, right? Like, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
But in my mind, if I see like certain things that don't add up, I'm like, okay, that guy,
sketch.
Yeah, it's sketchy in my head, right?
Yeah.
And that's normal. Everyone does that. If you weren't to do that, you might find yourself in some stupid situations.
Exactly. That's like it's a primitive thing that we have in order to, it's like a defensive mechanism is what it is. We're able to detect danger before it even happens by judging a book by its cover.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. And by us straying away from that primitive, nature that we have, I think it's going to cause more trouble than it is going to do good.
For sure. Like you said, it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Smart way to put it. And it's like not even defense, like as in like, oh, we're scared for our safety or anything. It's just like sometimes you just don't want to deal with those kind of people, man. Like you have an idea of what they are, and it's like, okay, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not who I'm going to associate with,
Yeah, and I'm cool with like people expressing themselves and dressing the way that they want to dress.
Totally
Like
cool. Yeah.
that's totally cool, but understand that you are going to be judged. You are going to be judged.
Yeah.
Like everybody's going to be judged. I had a conversation with one of my coworkers a while back when I was manager over there, and they used to dress provocative and whatnot, and they're cool. Like kudos to her, whatever. But she would always get very upset that people would stare at her, like males would stare at her. And I told her, like, why do you get upset when you know exactly what you're doing? Like you're getting dressed up in a way that's going to again attract that primitive nature of a male,
Yeah.
right? And she's like, no, but it's not fair. Like they should have like the respect and whatnot. I told her, the fact of the matter is, right or wrong, let's say like you are right and they shouldn't be doing that, it's not gonna stop. So if you like, you have to take it upon yourself. If you want the stares to stop, then you need to dress a different way. But if you don't want to dress a different way, then you're gonna have to deal with the stares. Like that's just, guys. I'm not sitting here saying like it's right for guys to be staring at females in a very nasty, meal type of way. But it's gonna happen if
Yeah.
you may not even be dressing provocative. It's gonna happen. So like, you can only take it upon yourself. You can only control what you do, and if you want that to stop, then you're gonna have to act on it.
That's another interesting part, like the weirdness that comes with like the ways females like portray themselves, like especially on social media. Like there'll be some girls that kind of like post provocatively, and like, and even then they'll be like, I get really bad messages, and they say this, they say that. It's like, well, I mean, what do you really expect? I mean, to them, they probably won't do it like every time they see your picture come up across their feed, but every time they see you, they get the same response in their head. They get the same like, oh damn, like fuck, like and eventually it's like, oh, some guys will even be like, oh, I think maybe she wants me to reach out to her. Maybe she wants me to talk to her. So I'm gonna slide in. I'm gonna slide in DMs, and then some weirdos send fucking straight up dick.
You're gonna go there.
Yeah, dude. No, it gets fucking weird and like unprovoked, like straight up, and it's just like how that doesn't happen is if you don't really post that stuff.
Yeah, and then they get upset because it's like, well, like why should I censor myself? It's like, well, I mean, it's all about law of attraction.
Yeah,
like
it is.
You get what you put out.
Yeah,
almost every single time.
And they're not gonna do it because I mean, they like attention too.
Yeah,
there's maybe they don't feel fulfilled like in their love life or something, and they're just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Not trying to shame anybody here.
No, of
it's
course
just
not.
like we're just having conversation, obviously, and on what
you do you, but when you get shitty shit like that happening to you, like, oh man, like there's a reason.
Yeah, I truly believe that like if you want something to change around you, I understand that you can only change what you can do, right? I have a problem with people saying like, oh, well, you shouldn't do this, well, you shouldn't do that, like when you are very aware that you can obviously change the situation too.
For sure. Like I said, like the Twitter place is weird.
Yeah.
Because like they start to track like what you put out there. Like that's not even like book is your cover. That's like your thoughts put out there. It's that's why it's like it's interesting to me when you see some certain things. It's like, is that really how you want to be putting yourself out there? Like that's your like thoughts.
Yeah.
It's weird, man, and it gets real cringy, and it gets really, I don't know. It's a weird place to be sometimes.
It is. I had a few like very constructive interactions though, like on Twitter. Those are like very cool though. Like I met this random guy from California.
Yeah.
Like he just, he DM'd me, and we had like a very like intellectual conversation. I was like, dang, like this is cool, like.
What you guys talk about, if you don't mind me asking?
We started talking about. I had tweeted out like a quote, and then like he talked about how it inspired that quote had inspired his life in the past, and like then we started talking about his fitness journey, and then now we just talk about like casual like gaming stuff and whatnot. Yeah. But like it was cool to see like him share how that inspired him and stuff like that. But it was cool, bro. Some of it's cool, but majority of it's kind of like, that's why I never really got into it. But
nah, I mean, I get on there every now and then, and I kind of just scroll around the stuff that I don't really. I'm mainly looking for funny stuff or memes and stuff to laugh about, you know, or like stuff I'm interested in. But every once in a while, you get into some loopholes that are like, well,
yeah, people are very bold on there too.
Yeah, they just straight up will just say anything. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Like that's like the definition, I believe. Like out of every other social media is like keyboard warriors.
Twitter for sure. Facebook.
I mean, every social media
like a different
like
kind.
That,
yeah.
But like
Facebook is like for older, like 40, 50-year-olds, you know. Like Twitter is where you get the young people
Facebook
like going
is
crazy.
funny when like the family drama starts to spill on there.
And they just leave it all on there, dude. Like, oh, dude.
Yeah. So I just kind of want to reiterate that, like, obviously we're speaking generally, we're speaking for the masses majority of the time what is ideal versus obviously that small percentage of what may or may not happen. I know, like, for instance, I know I mentioned like the whole daughter thing or like, you know, kids thing. I know for a fact, like, I'm gonna react based off of like my, again, primitive instinct of, you know, I'm gonna be judging a book by its cover when it comes to around my kids. Like, I'm gonna protect them. For sure. Like, in any type of like public setting, I'm like, if I sense something off, whether it's, I don't care if the person gets offended by, if I'm judging them based off of how they're dressed or the way they speak and whatnot. Like, I'm gonna protect, you know, my family for sure. By any means. Yeah. A lot of these things too is, some of it is nurtured, and some of it is nature. This part of the conversation, it might get a little controversial, but you know, whatever. A lot of it is nature and a lot of it is nurtured. Like, for instance, our culture, our upbringings. Like, we're obviously born into our ethnicity. We're obviously born into like some traditional traits that we just can't get away from. But I truly feel like nowadays people are really trying to like stem away from the roots. I see it especially with the Hispanic community for some reason, or I guess obviously it's because I'm around it. But like, I see that like, no, like the traditional ways old, it's past. Like, we need to stray away from it and whatnot. And I see a lot of people like, it's not even to the point where it's like, oh, I'm not proud. It's like they're kind of embarrassed of like that side of their life. When I think personally, it's like a beautiful thing to like, you know,
your culture, your heritage.
It's a part of us. It's a part of us, and a lot of people don't want to be identified again.
I also find it weird when people like really hate like the Valley, and I'm like, I mean, most people are like, who you are is heavily influenced by your area and your experiences. Yeah. Does some part of you hate yourself? Like, is that why you hate this place so much, or did something bad happen here? You know, I think it's really weird when I see that, because it's like, I mean, your family's here, bro. Like, you grew up here, your friends are here. Like, what happened? Did you not make friends, or were you bullied? Was there something about like it's just really weird, man? Because when I see that, I'm like, okay, what's the backstory? Yeah. You know, every time I see it, I'm like, okay. People are like, oh, it's trap, this and that. I'm like, I mean, we're doing fine here. Like, it's like any other part of the country.
No, that is weird.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, we know a couple.
Yeah, we do. And so, yeah, if you're saying, what's wrong, bro? Who hurt you?
Who hurt you? No, yeah, that's an interesting.
No, that's an interesting thing. But I think it's when people are, for example, here we're like all mainly Hispanic, right? In this community, people just want to be different sometimes, maybe, and maybe that's what causes them to be like, fuck that place, I got out, you know, I'm over here, you know. Maybe it's that. But when you do go somewhere else, I mean, especially around here, I'm comfortable walking in anywhere, right? Yeah. Like, one time I went to go visit my buddy in North Carolina, and on the way back from the airport, we stopped at a gas station. I got out the gas station, and I walked in, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm brown, I forgot. Like, people were just like looking at me, dude. I'm like, yeah. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, totally forgot about that.
Okay, well, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about boundaries, and let's talk about like, that's kind of messed up.
You feel it. The thing is, like, you feel it. Growing up brown, like down here.
You don't see it.
No, you do kind of see it because there's also like colorism between the Hispanic community. Like, I remember growing up, they were like, "Oh, your skin's the color of poop," you know, this and that. They always tell me that. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, it used to get to me, but now it's like, okay, that's dumb, you know. Like,
I've never heard that. Bro.
Yeah, no, dude. They that's what they used to say about me, right? So it was like that, but it wasn't like crazy where like I got beat up for it.
Yeah.
No, like that wasn't happening, right? But like, you know, as people grew older, that kind of stopped. That was like kind of just elementary.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, that seems pretty childish.
Yeah, it's super childish. Yeah, it's super
I
childish.
was gonna outgrow anyways.
Exactly. But then, so when I was here, and then I went over to Europe, that I can notice the difference right away, dude. I remember I was in this the Czech Republic in Prague, and I got into the metro, and like me and my buddy, we went there together. Like, you know, we took a trip to Prague for the weekend.
Also brown guy.
A black guy. So me, brown guy, black guy. We got in the metro. We sat down, and we both looked at each other and we're like, oh shit! Like, everyone was just like,
yeah.
And I was like, damn, we're making them nervous, dude.
Yeah.
But I think maybe when they heard us talk like English, like American, they're like, oh, okay. Hey, Trump won. Did you hear? Because that was the weekend Trump won. And then like everyone was just
okay. Well, that's kind of like the extremist of like judging a book by its cover.
Yeah, man.
Because, I mean, is that the line? Like, racism, is that the line? Because I mean, in my opinion, racism is like it's a phobia, is what I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's not right. But then again, we are over here preaching like, oh, judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, it's true.
And if someone was taught at a very young age, like, hey, be careful with those type of people.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know what I mean? Then now we're kind of contradicting ourselves.
Especially overseas, I feel like they saw me, and when you're in Europe, you don't expect to see a Mexican person, right? You see a brown guy, oh, he's from the Middle East, you know, and that is like a true phobia over there, and like you feel it, right? So it's like it's a different kind of thing. So they are judging books by their cover, right? But then they hear me talk and they're like, okay, he's American. Or I talk Spanish and they get a little more comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, that's the extreme side of it. Yeah. And I definitely seen that before.
Yeah.
But that's not in my control.
It's
totally not in my
our control. So, like, my question is, like, is that the cap? Is that the line? Is that, like, where do we start this? Like, oh, you need to judge a book by its cover? Because, again, like I said, I think that to the, like, if I see a black person, I'm like, oh, I need to be careful with that person. That's not.
It's a phobia. That's not right.
A phobia.
Yeah.
That's not correct, right? But then where do we stop it? Like, where's it's a gray line.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because me personally, I'll judge a book by its cover by the way somebody presents themselves, by what they can control, not by what they were, you know what I mean? Not based on like what color of skin they were birthed.
Yeah, dude.
But like, I don't care if you're white, black, brown, purple, whatever you are, and you come to me and you're speaking correctly, like if you're speaking to me respectfully, if you have a good demeanor and like, you know what I mean, like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah, and that should be most people, but it's you know, it's not the case, right?
Yeah. So that's the extreme side.
To them, they measure their risk, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, what's it called? During that time, there was a lot of terrorist attacks over there in Europe. So it's like, what do you expect? You know, what do you expect? If I got on a bus and they see I'm the only brown guy there, they're just all gonna look at me. Especially if I have a backpack or something, they're gonna be like, oh shit. I mean, so
bomb.
Yeah, but dude, it was very tense over there when I was over there.
Wow.
Like I was in Brussels, and like 3 weeks later, they bombed it. Like they bombed the metro. They bombed like places where I had been, even the airport where like I checked in for my flight. Like legit, the Paris attacks happened when I was out there. Like, there's a whole lot of different factors, and so like, yeah, man, like I get it. You know, you see someone that's not from around your area. And you obviously he's not from around your area. It's different. It's unfortunate, but that's, you know, yeah.
Damn.
It's a weird thing, you know. Nothing really ever weird happened, but I was just, you know, when I was in Paris, they were like, hey, stay away from this area, you know, this and that. Stay away from this place. Stay away from this place. Okay, you know, just stick to the main areas, because if you go off the deep path, they see you look different, they talk to you, you don't speak French, something might happen, you know.
Shoot. I've been fortunate enough. I don't think I've ever had like a like a racial experience. Like
It's pretty tough to get one down here.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough to get one down here.
That's good. I don't know. I don't know how I would react. I would like to think that I wouldn't care,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it feels weird. You know, I wasn't angry at them for it. Me and my friend were just like, oh shit, you know, like, like, oh, okay, that's what it feels like. Because you know, we were living on base. When you live on base, we're all soldiers. You know.
Yeah.
There's none of that there. Although there was some racist stuff that happened while I was in the army, but for the most part, it was all just, you know, we're all you know, wearing green. We're all the same. We're all American. We all talk to each other. We all develop the same language. Kind of like down here, we have the same language. When we go somewhere else, like in the army, you develop the army language. It's weird. And so when we would step out, sometimes, yeah, they'd be like that. Oh, dude, I just remembered this one. Fuck, dude. So we're going to the airport, right? It was 4 friends, right? Two white people, white female, white male, black male, me, right? So they're walking in front of us. And they walk right outside the airport, no problem, right? As soon as they pass, they stop me and my friend. Hey, stop, passport. And I was just like, we're literally with them. You didn't stop. You literally stopped me, and I was like, bro, this really happened. This is like the Family Guy meme. Like, I couldn't believe it, dude. My friend Justin Young, like, he'll vouch for this story that literally happened to us, man.
But how did you feel about that? Like, was it?
It was funny. Because to me there's no consequence because I had my American passport. I'm there. I'm good legally, right?
Yeah.
You know, but there's some areas where people aren't, you know, you walk into the wrong area and maybe you're not supposed to be there, or you think you're supposed to be there but you're not. Bad stuff happens, you know. But for me it was just like, you know, that's funny. That's fucked up. That's pretty much to the point where I got it. You have to learn not to take that personally.
Yeah. I'm just trying to process, like, again, that line of, like, where do we stop it? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's different when you bring in that topic.
Yeah. I kind of want to paint this analogy that I had written out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I spoke to you and Carlos about it, but it was a business example of, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. And I kind of already touched on it, but let's just say that you were conducting a business, right? And you had 2 applicants come in. Very similar accolades, right? Maybe one of them had a little bit, you know, better grades, whatnot. Applicant number 1, reasonable physical, you know, he's kind of fit, you know, he's well groomed, dressed, spoke proper, overall presented himself in a professional manner, right? He did everything right. Check mark. Boom, 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 boom. Applicant number 2, excessively overweight, poorly dressed, long untamed hair, and spoke not professionally as applicant number 1. Who would you choose? And this is considering that applicant number 2, the one that didn't present himself to, you know, the level of applicant number 1, grades were a little bit better.
I think most people would go with 1, easy.
I think that's the proper choice.
10 out of 10 times, honestly.
Yeah, almost 100%. Yeah. I think that's the way it's gonna go, and I think rightfully so.
Yeah,
because understand people that the way that you carry your temple is also showing how much you care. It's showing how much discipline. It speaks a lot to your discipline. It speaks a lot to your charisma, and it speaks a lot to how you're going to carry yourself in a business aspect too. Nobody wants somebody. It's like, how am I going to trust you with my business when you can't even trust you with you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember we'd have so we had at the last place I worked at, we had 2 guys, basically the same, right? They both came in with the same amount of experience. Right, but one guy came in first, right, and he brought the other guy in. So you would expect this guy is, you know, yeah, he's probably gonna get, you know, the pay raise, promotion, carry on with the company, all that stuff, right? But his presentation was bad. He got caught sleeping in the truck. You know, that's bad, right? This guy never caught sleeping in the truck. He would miss some days, but he would always call in ahead of time. His work was really good. Never had any issues. And then this guy who'd been with the company longer, right? And he worked good too. It's just he got caught at bad moments, right? He slept in the truck one time, and then he'd show up late, like 4 minutes late. It's not too bad, right?
Yeah.
It's not horrible, but ideally you don't want to show up late.
Yeah.
But then one day he just came smelling like weed, you know, and it's just like I was talking to my boss and I was like, you know, what's going on? Because he was like, we have to choose one, and he's like, well, he's been with the company longer, but honestly, this guy, I can rely on him. This guy, he came in this morning smelling like weed. Like, we can't.
Yeah.
See, they drug test and that thing. So if they have a random drug test, he's popped, and boom, you lose a worker. You can't have that.
This is in your current job?
No, not my current job. The job I had at the wind farm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that guy continued on, and they ended up firing that other guy. So it's like that had a lot to do with it. Your presentation, the way you interact with people. You know, like the other guy was a good worker. You tell him to go do something, he'll do it, and he'll do it really well, right? But he had a couple missteps.
Yeah. And
those missteps reflect on you, your character, and in this kind of job, when you make a mistake like that, you're costing money, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it there in the last place that I worked at too, where I've promoted people that hadn't been there forever when I know that this person's been there for like years, and I can count that this person's not gonna quit, but the way that they present themselves is not at the level of a manager.
Yeah.
So I just can't trust. I wouldn't feel right leaving this location behind and resting well. Like I would be like thinking and worrying, you know, how is the business going to be conducted when I leave?
Yeah.
As opposed to someone who maybe hasn't been with the company so long, but has presented himself very well, you know, speaks professionally and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I mean, like one person, they were there first, you know, they brought that guy in, you know,
and they're reliable.
Yeah.
And what I mean by reliable is that like at a low paying job, you only find a select few that are going to stay there for a very long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Usually the good workers are always going to end up leaving.
Yeah.
Right. Because if a worker has good character, they would know that there's better opportunities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not ignorant to that. Well, most of them.
Yeah. They look for something better. They're constantly trying to improve.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of people you want to keep, but it's hard to keep them.
It's hard to keep them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you would promote that person over the person that kind of just likes to work there for years, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to mention about Don't Judge a Book by Its Cover? I know that you were, beforehand, you were like...
I was trying to find some stuff online, but everything is pretty much generic. And I think, case by case, I just really hate, like, sometimes those fake, like, social media things, like... they're like, you see this person, but in reality, he's a CEO of this.
Yeah.
So like, obviously, that's not normal. Like,
yeah,
you know, everything is pretty much a case by case basis, right? But generally speaking, people will always judge a book by its cover. I mean, I've been the person that's been judged because of cover I can't control. That's just the way it is, man.
Yeah, I believe I have too. I mean,
that's another way. Don't you think people feel like they look at you? I think you tweeted about this. They look at you and they think you're arrogant or something.
Yeah.
Or they elaborate on that if you can.
That's a little bit more personal, but we'll dive into that.
I mean, you tweeted it. Like I said, you're putting your thoughts out there. So just trying to see.
Well, it's kind of like
I can't remember the tweet. I just remember seeing
it was a subliminal. Right?
Oh, okay.
But it's cool. So I was saying, people in that mid range seem to appreciate me a little bit more. Too close, I may seem selfish.
Was it like a song lyric?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's
like just thoughts you were pouring.
I write quotes and I write sayings. Mm-hmm. And I write riddles and whatnot. But anyways, people in that mid range seem to appreciate me a little bit more. Too close, I may seem selfish, and too far, I may seem arrogant. And what was behind that is I noticed that the people around me, like for instance, I will sacrifice a lot of the time with certain loved ones, especially like my family, for stuff like this, like a podcast.
Yeah.
And they might seem that as, he's very selfish, or like I may not go to a family occasion because I have a goal and I'm gonna go work out, or you know what it is.
Yeah.
Like I have personal goals and I take them personally. Like I want to achieve greatness, and to some people that's a selfish move, right? And then too far, people may not understand the passion that I have for a certain thing. Like, oh, he's stuck up, he's arrogant, like he thinks he's all that. But I believe that you shouldn't. Well, in my case, right. And this is another thing that goes case by case, and I don't blame people for thinking that. Anyways, but you can't confuse confidence for arrogance, right? Like I'm very confident in what is to come in the future for what I have planned.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it is. But I think a lot of people that are too far see that as arrogance. But I do believe that for some reason, in that mid range of like where people like they kind of know me and I see them periodically, like they like believe in me, and then but I'm not too close to them where they think like, oh, well, this guy like he's sacrificing all this other stuff. You know what I mean? They just see like the good parts, I guess.
Yeah, like for me, like I don't see your family life. You know,
Exactly.
I don't see that. You know, I just see like, hey, I see you every once in a while. We hang out. We watch a UFC fight or a Cowboy game or something like that.
Yeah. And there's people. Okay, so there's people that are like, man, how do you have so much time to be doing this? How do you have the time to do a podcast?
Sacrifice something.
Work out every day, and like, man, dude, like you must have it all figured out. And in reality, like, my parents are calling me and texting me saying like, you don't come and see us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, today I feel like I've had a long day. Like, I went 5 a.m. to the gym, work from 8 to 5, and then come here. Like, that's a full day, man. Like, that's hard. But, I sacrificed some time after work with my wife. I was like, okay, I want to come here and do the podcast. So I sacrificed that time, you know. She's okay with it. She's never had really an issue with me going anywhere, really. But I could see how, like, when you don't see your family all the time and like, hey, we have this one event this weekend. Like, are you going to come? And you say no. Yeah. I can see how they could take it personally a certain way.
Yeah. So that's where that was derived from.
No, I get it. It's okay to get a little personal, man. People
no,
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good tweet. That's why I was like, oh, okay. And then it kind of matches book by its cover because I feel like you said, the people that are distanced from you, they're judging you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, all three of them.
Maybe certain clips. I mean, everyone around you always is judging you, right? But like I said, we kind of agree on that. Like, not every single case you judge a book by its cover, but it's like in certain situations. In most situations, you are like you look at someone, you're like, oh, that person's this or that person's that, or it could be positive too. It's not always negative, Maybe the word judge has a negative connotation, but I don't think it should be completely negative.
I think that's a big reason.
Yeah, words mean words have hidden meanings, and some are just sound negative. Judge sounds negative. Admire sounds maybe not admire. I feel like there had to be another word for judge. To notice, to pay attention. I don't know, but like I said, judge it does sound bad.
It does sound bad.
It's a strong word.
It is. No, but yeah, I'm glad you brought up that tweet though.
Yeah, no, man. It just reminded like you were. I forgot what we were saying, but it just came to the back of my mind. I was like, oh yeah, like that's a great. Yeah, it was like 2-3 days ago or something. I can't remember exactly when I saw it.
Yeah. So like I have like I used to have a book where I wrote all this stuff.
Yeah.
But now I just do it on my phone. I just randomly think of stuff, and because I don't know, like I love to be like a mysterious guy, and like so I save the things that I write.
Yeah.
And like I look it up like years later. I'm like, oh, I wrote that. Like, and it's cool to look back and be like, where was I in that mental state of my life at that point?
Yeah, man.
In comparison to now, like I look at my old quotes and riddles and stuff like that, and I'm like, dang, bro, I was very motivated then. I was very depressed then. I was very lonely then.
Yeah.
I was very confident then. And I was just like, dang. But it's cool because, like, I hope one day, like I pass away or whatnot, and, like, they gets found or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That'd be pretty cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stamp that, you were here. This is...
Yeah. I used to be real public with like all the stuff that I would write.
Yeah.
But like now I'm just kind of a little bit more private. I think periodically I will like release it, I guess.
What do you think causes that?
What?
Like you feeling the need to put it out there.
I believe that it might be a little bit too selfish just to keep it. It's like, what's the point of like having these ideas and you don't project them out?
Yeah.
It could, what it does for me, it could possibly, be a positive impact into somebody else's life.
Or create content like we just did right now.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. There was something I wanted to say about that quote, though, or the one that I tweeted, and it had something to do with like distance in between. I can't remember. Oh yeah, so I had followed that tweet up with something that I've really bought into in the recent years, like the past 2 years, which is distance equals respect. I talked about it in a podcast actually, and that means that like to have people at a certain range in your life, kind of like what I said in that other one. That in order to have respect, you need to keep somebody in a distance. And I did speak about it in another podcast, but for instance, like your family members, like if you go every single day, the conversation's a little bit more demanding, right? So like your parents will probably be like, hey, go get that, right? As opposed to like if you went once a month, it'll be like, hey, what can I get you? Yeah. It's like, it's
That's
like,
true.
there's a thing with the amount of distance that you put yourself in between somebody that demands respect. It's like it's more appreciated.
Yeah, like your presence is noticed. Your presence is appreciated. Exactly. Yeah, no.
And it's almost like if people see like whenever that happens to me, it's like people are looking at me like like he's changed or he's a grown man now, and it's just like, no, I'm the same person. Yeah. Just
you respect me now because I'm doing something else, or I have my family.
Or maybe you've appreciated, or maybe you've take it for granted my presence. Yeah. And now that I'm back, you're like, man, or like since I've been gone, like, oh, I miss him or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean that's just general courtesy when you go visit someone's house. They're supposed to due respect and stuff like that, and I think that does get lost when you're let's say you live at home, you will never get that. Yeah. If you continue living at home. But yeah, there is a noticeably big difference when you see family less often. It's kind of nice.
It's weird. Yeah, it's weird how that does. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, bro?
No, man. It's pretty good here.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let us know what y'all thought in the comments below.
Roast us.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Should you judge a book by its cover? Should you not? Do you agree with us? Or do you disagree? I mean, guys, at the end of the day, we can agree to disagree. That's what this whole podcast is about. The Common Podcast is derived around the misconception of common sense. To us, obviously, it makes sense what we just said. But for some of y'all, that's stupid, which is totally understandable if that's what y'all think. But
yeah, bring up your point. Bring up why you think that's stupid. Articulate your argument, man. We'd love to see it.
For sure. Guys, if you are watching on YouTube and it's more convenient, you're busy, and you much rather listen to the podcast on the go, know that it is available on Spotify, the Common Podcast. Same thing, vice versa. People on Spotify, if you want more of a visual, you want to see how we're interacting, there is a video version of the podcast on YouTube. Guys, I'm also going to be starting up a Instagram page specifically for the Common Podcast because we have some things that are about to go on, some things with the community, and also, hopefully in the future I can interact with y'all through Instagram. So that's going to be coming soon. I'll let y'all know when that comes out. That way, we can interact through the Instagram page. But other than that, my personal social media links are down in the description. So if you want to message me there, you can do that as well. Until next time, thanks, Angel, for coming. And we're out.
See ya.